Yep.
We can start anytime.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna get going. Okay, thanks everybody for coming to our second lecture. I guess it's our fourth year of putting on this free lecture series. It's a joint effort of the International Hempology 101 Society and the U.V.S.S. Student Society, U.V.S.S. Hempology 101 Club. And so thanks everybody for your patience with getting the class going and some technical details. But I'm going to try and jump right into it because the lecture goes so quickly. Today's lecture is on the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. And in the 2 semesters, there's kind of a bit of a progression that occurs in some sense. I'm leaving out, admittedly, a whole section of the history of Prohibition in some ways for next semester. And so I'll save the religious bashing for next week, and today is, or for next semester, I should say. And today is more a focus on corporate bashing, which is a favorite sport of mine as well. And easy to do given the history of this plant and laws surrounding it. And so I'm going to first start by talking a bit about industrial hemp, and I think it's next semester Chris is going to do a lecture on the history of hemp. And so I'll leave many of the details to him.
Those ones don't screw in, Chris.
In the 1800s, certainly hemp and canvas and hemp rope, hemp cloth, like today, my shoes and everything else I'm wearing, that are really the first time in a lecture probably, because I think I messed up last week, I'm wearing nothing but hemp. And it was something that in the days of old, almost all sailors, all the old, like I say, canvas and various items made from it, bags, backpacks, those sorts of things. It was all hemp. And it's estimated that on some ships, between the cloth, the rope, and the clothing and such, there could be as much as 60 tons of hemp on a large, sailboat with all the masts and rigging and such that they would have on these things. So having control of both the cultivation and production of hemp was critical to all sorts of nations. And it not only competed competed amongst navies to get good hemp, but producing various products for the army in the 1800s was critical as well. And so a lot of people, one of the other expenses of cotton that grew up was also, that comes into play, the fact that they drained their soil so much in the production of it, they had to start putting in more and more fertilizers. And the production of cotton, at least really nice cotton, also takes a lot of chemicals, and so that producing finer clothing, that it was more expensive for them as well. Anyway, the problem and the great thing about hemp is how strong the fibers are. I say problem, although it's more of a historic problem. I should correct myself, because the hemp plant itself, when grown for fiber, they grow it very densely, get up to 200 plants per square meter. It grows 16, 20 feet tall even, if it's left for the full year. If you get a really good place to grow, like here we could get 2 seasons, of probably 12 to 15 foot tall hemp. But anyway, it is really strong fiber surrounding a cork, a woody pith it's called, or herds is the historic term. Now, in the past, it used to be that you'd have to take the plant and beat it or do something to break the fiber from the herds. And it was so tough to cut down in the fields. It was very labor intensive, very hard on machinery, and it was again, just kind of much more labor intensive to in some aspects to make things out of it because of these aspects. And so it was something, though, that the herds were also kind of a waste product. Until 1916, there were no known uses of it. And then all of a sudden it was found that you could turn the herds into paper. And so when this discovery came to the media's attention, it was something that everybody thought, hey, great, we don't have to cut down these huge trees in the middle of nowhere. Of course, nobody knew about them because they were being cut down in the middle of nowhere. And the newspaper companies in 1916 just bought timber rights to huge tracts of North America, a lot of it in the United States, but certainly, timber rights in Canada were up for sale at the time as well, and they were all being bought by the media because no one was consuming more paper than them at the time. And so 1917, a machine was finally invented called the decorticator by Henry Sklitskin that was able to cut the plant down in the field, break it apart so that you would end up with herds on one side and very, very nice fiber on the other. Because one of the problems with hemp, again, it was so hard to break the fibers from the wood. Often it would be either left in the field to kind of rot, which would turn it brown, or you could put it in water for a short period of time. You could put it in water and chemicals for a shorter period of time. You could heat it, and it would happen even faster. But all these various processes kind of would hurt the fiber in some way or another. But this decorticator that George made ended up with fiber that was, I think at the time, sold at a higher value than almost anything at the market in North America. Just very fine stuff, almost, you could just about twist in your hand and it would turn into this very soft material. And so the value of hemp, skyrocketed as a result of this. Also at the time it was established scientifically by the American, I think, Department of Agriculture, that the hemp plant produces 4 times per acre as much as any tree possibly could. And so it was something that the value of the hemp plant was between the machine and turning the waste product into, in some ways, the most valuable, or one of the most valuable things coming out of it, really meant the hemp plant was worth a lot more in a very short amount of time. And until that time, hemp had been kind of, shut out of different markets for a number of reasons, and it was something that the newspaper companies, led by William Randolph Hearst, were able to buy the patent from George. I believe George died thinking that there was a factory trying to produce his, combine, because that was essentially it was a big hemp combine. I think, they had even kind of duped him into thinking that they were, really close to making his machine, but by that time they had set a whole bunch of other things in place to make sure it would never succeed and the public would never hear about it. Yeah, it was something that the newspaper companies got involved, bought this patent, and shut down telling any public stories about it. And the term marijuana was created by Hearst himself, essentially, apparently, and it was never heard before, brand new thing. And it was said to be this new, kind of drug plant that the Mexicans had come up with. And the Reefer Madness campaign went off from there because the media had a vested interest in eliminating hemp. But really, I don't know if William Hearst himself was responsible in essence for it all. In some ways, he was very much a figurehead. He took the role on, made a heck of a lot of money in doing so. But there were a lot of other people that were getting stuff out of it as well. I'll go to Andrew Mellon, for example, and I forget if it was 1921 or whatever, but through this campaign, Andrew Mellon was sort of a banker. I think I forget which bank right now, but anyway, banker out of New York who set up a whole bunch of different things, including I think being the founder